This is the 2015 Ferrari 458 Speciale Aperta, and it is not an understatement to say that many, including myself, consider this one of the finest and most desirable modern Ferraris. It's beautiful because its sumptuous shape was penned by design geniuses Pininfarina, and it's based on the 458 Italia, already a very pretty car.
Pretty car.
But because it's the Speciale, it's got it where it counts in terms of performance. It's more muscular with additional fins and aerodynamic aids. It's louder, faster, and more track focused. And then there's that magical Italian word, aperta, which means open, and it refers to the fact that this Speciale can whip off its top so you can enjoy it even more. It's fast, with a 3-second 0 to 60 time, and as near as makes no difference, 200 miles an hour top speed. And because it has a naturally aspirated 4.5 litre V8 with no turbos and no hybrid nonsense, it sounds absolutely gorgeous. Ooh! It's a screaming, howling, high-revving, scintillating, winky, fizzing masterpiece. This week then, I'm going to do a deep dive into this wonderful yellow car, look at the exterior design, its interior, that engine, unique features of the Aperta, and of course, I'm going to try and convey what it's like to drive one of these incredible cars, and therefore why it is so revered among Ferrari collectors. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Drive Every Ferrari. And this is the Ferrari 458 Speciale Aperta. This is a special Ferrari, no question. It was first unveiled by Luca de Montezumolo at the Mondiale dell'Automobile in 2014 in Paris. There he is. And it's a true limited edition, special edition of the mighty Speciale, with allegedly just 499 made, which makes it catnip to supercar collectors. And you had to be a favoured VIP Ferrari customer to even be offered one. And after the formidable and popular hardtop Speciale, it was the one to have. After all, who doesn't want a limited edition racing roofless Ferrari to enjoy all those sights, sounds and smells to an even greater intensity?
Exactly.
Open-top Ferraris have always been special, whether it's the historic 166mm, achingly beautiful 250 California, or the more modern F355 Spider, 16M 599 SA Aperta, or the LaFerrari Aperta. Due to their rarity and being the last ever naturally aspirated Ferrari V8, values of Speciale Apertas have remained extremely strong. This car here has never been worth less than 2.5 times its original purchase price, and at its peak, famously, I was once offered £1 million for it, which I didn't take.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I spec'd this car from new, and as you can see, I went for almost the exact launch spec, with the exception of blue carbon, where I actually went for regular carbon instead. The paint is Giallo Triple Strato, which, as the name suggests, is a 3-layer yellow paint, and it's also got factory painted NART stripes, that's North American Racing Team, of Bianco and blue NART. In all, this car's paint cost at the time £19,200. The overall shape of the Speciale Aperta is significantly more track-focused and performance-driven, with a focus on airflow through the redesigned front area to maximise downforce and airflow under the car. Movable flaps here at the front end change position during high speed to redirect the air and provide cooling. And you may have noticed these 3 little louvered slats here next to the headlights. They are significantly different to the design of the 458 Italia, and they evoke memories of the 250 GTO and the F40. The Brembo carbon fibre brakes are modified from the LaFerrari and stop 10% more quickly than the 458 Italia. They're not quite as good as those on the Challenge Stradale or my 718 Porsche Spider, but by any other supercar standards, they offer prodigious stopping power and brake pedal feel. You also have these unique fins on the Speciale and Speciale Aperta, which help to channel air across the car. Ferrari was always constantly trying to get me to upgrade these to carbon fibre, which is an extra cost option and can actually be retrofitted. And they also wanted to do the same with the fuel filler cap, but to be honest, I never went for it because I much prefer the harmony of it all being body coloured. The rear spoiler here has a greater surface area and is more steeply raked than the 458 Italia in order to increase high-speed stability. Ferrari has completely redesigned the rear of the Speciale with a more aggressive rear splitter and an active drag reduction system that activates over 80 miles an hour. They've also repositioned and enlarged the exhaust pipes, mated to shorter inlet ducts. The biggest difference between the Speciale and the Aperta, however, is the treatment of the rear deck. It's completely different. Unlike the coupe where the engine bay is displayed under a glass deck lid, the Aperta, thanks to that folding hardtop, gets a completely redesigned rear section and this dinky little lid that looks not unlike the door of a top-loading washing machine. You don't get to visually revel in the drama of the engine with the Aperta, but as you can see here, it's still got it where it counts.
She may not look like much, but she's got it where it counts, kid.
Hung low in the chassis is the magnificent 4.5 litre naturally aspirated V8 cast in the in-house Ferrari foundry. At the time, this engine was Ferrari's most powerful naturally aspirated V8, delivering 596 brake horsepower, that's 604 PS, and 398 foot-pounds of torque, a healthy 540 Newton meters. Performance figures are virtually identical between the Speciale and the Aperta. Here's the comparison with the hardtop Speciale, and as you can see, everything is pretty much identical in terms of power, and it's only the 0 to 124 mile an hour figure that's quicker for the coupe at 9.1 seconds versus 9.5. And also the top speed, which is pegged at 199 for the Aperta, but over 200 miles an hour for the Speciale. And since the engine is the same, it must be the weight that's making the difference, and it is. The Aperta is 50 kilograms heavier at 1,445 kilograms versus the Speciale's 1,395. But of course, you can drop the roof and experience that howling, naturally aspirated V8 from that incredible award-winning engine right behind your ears. You also get the ability to lower the rear window, providing cooling and allowing you to hear that engine noise without the full open-top experience. Although I love the simplicity and smooth shape of the 458 Italia, there's something a lot more purposeful and menacing and aggressive and track focused and just generally more special about the Speciale, hence the name. I love the vents on the bonnet, which of course were a precursor to the Pista's S-duct. I also love that if you option the stripe, it goes across that folding hardtop roof and then plunges back on the rear deck before splitting out like an arrow to either side and right up to the tip of the spoiler. The only thing I don't like about a yellow car is that it attracts flies. Flies love a yellow car. Like the 458 Italia, the front boot or frunk is surprisingly spacious with room underneath the front of the car for even more baggage. You can actually get a hold-all in there before you even get to the main luggage. So the 458 Speciale Aperta is a surprisingly practical car because you've also got space behind the seats. I never expected to own one of these cars, and in fact the story of how I did is probably worth repeating. As you all know, being avid followers of this channel, I've owned quite a few Ferraris and remain a huge champion of this wonderful Italian brand. In 2015, I owned a 355 Spider, a 360 Challenge Stradale and a Ferrari F40. But when Ferrari announced that it was stopping the 458, I immediately dropped everything and ordered a brand new car, this one in fact, a white one, despite there being no manual gearbox option. Now, no one truly knows how the mysterious Ferrari special car allocation process works, but for whatever reason, me buying that brand new 458 triggered an invitation to purchase a Speciale Aperta. And it was quite a shock, I can tell you, because I'd just committed to spending over £200,000 on the Italia, and suddenly I was being asked to part with another £228,000 plus options for the Aperta, to arrive just a few months apart. Talk about an expensive month. But of course, I would have been an absolute fool to give up the chance to own such a special motor car, and so obviously, since it's standing behind me, I went for it. And I actually picked it up from the factory, which is why the key fob of this particular car is red and says factory collection on it. The first 1,000 miles in this car were driving it back from Italy through France and back into the UK. And when I say 1,000 miles, I mean to the mile, because as I crossed the threshold of the Car Guys garage, it clicked onto 1,000 miles on the odometer. How cool is that? Is it the best Ferrari I have ever owned? You know what? Yes. Yes, it is. Like all special road racing Ferraris, the interior is an event, and a mixture of sportiness, lightweightness, and style. If you've ever sat in a Challenge Stradale or a Scuderia, you'll instantly notice the entire door innards are carbon fibre, and Alcantara is used throughout instead of leather. And it's the same here, although leather actually was a cost option. Gone is the glove box in favour of these little nets in the doors, and you also get this LaFerrari-esque carbon claw, which has buttons for launch, reverse, and to switch between auto and manual modes. These seats are unique to the Aperta and contain breathable technical cloth for better dissipation of heat from a body or racing suit. And in blue and yellow, like I've got here, to match the yellow exterior, they look quite superb. Down here on the central tunnel is a little jelly bean that operates the front lift system. That cost £3,500 as an option, but it is essential in my opinion, and it's only failed once. Down in the center console here, we've got controls for the windows and the roof control, which would be the same as the one on the 458 Spider, but you can put the roof up and down with that one, and then next to it is the little up-down window button, which controls this little window here, which you can have up if you want it fully sound deadened and insulated, if you're in racing mode, or if you want to hear the engine and get some cooling without taking the whole top off, you can just drop it. It's quite cool, actually. As I sit here, I am surrounded by blue Scuru Alcantara with yellow stitching. Again, it all thematically works. I've got the familiar 458 Italia cockpit configuration. We've got the 458 Speciale A badge there. Pretty much everything is carbon fibre that can be carbon fibre, with, of course, the exception of those central heating and cooling controls, which are never carbon fibre. However, some of you have sent me links to a company that actually does do a carbon fibre panel to fit over that, so thank you very much for that. You also get on the central tunnel a limited edition plaque to show you that this is a special car. It doesn't number the car though, and there's no specific mention of the 499 anywhere in here, unlike some of the other special Ferraris. It's also more stripped out than the Italia, so rather than floor mats, we've got sort of bare metal or pseudo metal panels. There's a lot of space behind the seats to put extra luggage, of course very useful, and an additional net. And this car has a yellow rev counter to match the yellow exterior. Other than that, it's very similar to the 458, but just stripped out and more racing, which is exactly what you want. The glove box is gone, as I said, but you've got these two weird stitched pads, which I'm not quite sure whether they're for your knees or for something else, but it's an interesting solution. Not quite sure why they're there. I'm going to go for knee protection, but if anyone else knows what it's for, please let me know. We've still got the proven 458 architecture, which is fantastic. Apart from the horrendous screens, which are impossible to operate at speed, very fiddly, require lots of holding down and pressing and weird buttons. There's multiple control systems on a 458. Ergonomically, it's always been horrible. It's always been very difficult to operate, but you'd expect expect this as the last run out of the 458 platform to not have any changes, and of course it doesn't. They haven't really made any major modifications. The only big difference actually in terms of functionality is that on the 458 I think I press the headlight button to flash, and on this one I flick it. Not quite sure why they changed it. But really, I think that's all to say in terms of the car standing still. Now let's fire her up and get out on the road. Here we are then, 458 Speciale Aperta. Roof down, obviously, it's a sunny day, so why would you not? And I'm going to have to try and convey all of the feelings and all of the senses that are being tingled right now. Here we go then, fancy a bit of it? Fancy a bit of early on beans? Right. Oh, the down changes. I don't care what anyone says about how great the 488 Pista is, and it is great, but nothing compares to naturally aspirated. No lag, quite spiky power delivery, lots of noise. It's a great sounding engine, this. Not as great as the classic Ferraris, I will happily admit, but still, come on, listen. Oh, ready for a down change? Here we go. Now I'm driving at the moment in race mode, which is how you should always drive a Speciale, but I've also got it in comfy road setting because of course the great Michael Schumacher, hashtag keep fighting Michael, worked with Ferrari to make sure that you could have the bumpy road setting in race mode, so you get the comfort of those dampers softening up just a little, but you also get the faster gear change, the greater, more aggressive noise, and that's important. Oh, down change, down to third, down to second. Oh, lovely little whip crack. Oh, away we go. Away we go. You've obviously got all that sort of pseudo Formula 1 gubbins going on the steering wheel. I'm in race mode, but I could be in wet, I could be in sport, I could be in CT off and everything off if I was feeling especially brave, which I'm not, because of course this car is worth somewhere around £750,000. This is the 458 architecture, so if you, for example, haven't set the radio before you set off, or if you need to access pretty much any menu that you might want to look at, you're going to crash, because it takes so much of your attention away from driving to fiddle with the various jog dials and button combinations and hold down for some and press others. This one's got like a PlayStation control on the left hand side. It's so needlessly painful that you really don't want to be doing it whilst you're moving. So I'm just going to enjoy the sound of the engine and 50 million miles of sky. Now, things you need to know about driving a Speciale: there is a lot of grip, and then when there isn't a lot of grip, it's pretty terrifying. They can be quite skittish to drive. It's not a Porsche GT3 RS. You've got to give measured inputs. You've got to be smooth. If you're on and off the throttle and flying around into bends and stabbing, you're gonna unseat the whole thing. You're gonna fly off the track or the road, and there's gonna be a big fireball. So when you're coming up to a tight corner, Ferrari will teach you, you absolutely stomp on the brakes and then you lift off gently as you actually enter the corner itself. This car reacts quite well to that technique. about driving one of these. Driving position is perfect, seats are very comfortable, gear changes quick, sometimes a bit too violent, I think. Visibility is good, the wing mirrors are large, they're well positioned. Generally, you've got great visibility all round, except if you're at a bit of an oblique junction, in which case the buttresses on the Spider and the Aperta tend to get in the way a little bit. The really sad thing about these cars is that because of the value, most of the owners just don't drive them. Now we get to some twisty bits, which should be interesting. Down change, hard on the brakes, another down change, tight left-hander, feeding the power gently, punch out. Oh, it's sublime, isn't it? I know the Speciale, the hardtop, has the better dynamics. I know therefore this car is a little bit more wobbly, but for what you get for the wobbliness, I think it's worth it. That's why I've got the Spider version of the 355. That's even wobblier, but the side profile and the wind in your hair are... Big smile. And then if you want it to become a pussycat, you can stick it into auto mode if you want, like that, and it will needlessly change up to 7th at 30 miles an hour. But you can calm down a bit, you can just drive it like a normal car. It's a ludicrous supercar with more fizz and excitement than most humans can possibly handle. But it can also drive like a pussycat. You can stick on the soft suspension. You can just gradually tickle along. I don't like auto though, so I'm changing it right back. Dead animal. The agility of the Speciale really has to be experienced to be believed. It's so nippy and darty. You're supposed to make it the road like that dead animal we just had, and you just zip around it. Front end grip is good, rear end grip is good. In the wet, not so much. Heave on the brakes. Down. Down 2. Tight left. Yes. So what do I like and dislike about the Speciale Aperta? Well, let's start with what I dislike. I dislike obviously the 458 Italia cabin architecture. It's still horrible. I dislike a little bit this car's skittishness as you press on, and its wet weather capabilities, which yeah, you don't really want to take these out in the wet. Because this is the 458 platform, one thing you do have to pay attention to is the fact that you can't put the roof up and down whilst you're moving. That was a real improvement made in the Pista and onwards, but in this you actually have to stop the car to do it. It's just a bit of a pain. But really, apart from that, there's nothing to dislike. It's as close to a perfect modern Ferrari as I think I've discovered. Even ones that come afterwards, I think, lessen the experience that you get from this. What do I like about the car? Well, I love its looks, I love its size, I love that incredible screaming V8 engine, I love how easy it is to drive and also how it challenges you. I like the driving position, I like the visibility, I like the fact you can take the roof down, I like the fact that you get all those senses heightened with this car. I love how easy and cheap it is to service, and I just love everything about it. I also love the fact that I collected it from the factory. This is an epic car, it really is. I also cannot believe it's taken this long for me to get it on Drive Every Ferrari. I mean, it is my series after all, and this was just sat in the garage. So apologies for that. Hopefully, we've made up for it today. it there. You don't really want to come across a tractor on one of these. Woof! That's tight, very tight. Now I think it's time to get back to the Car Guys garage, sign off, and then have a lovely cool beer. Thank you for watching this episode of The Car Guys on the Ferrari 458 Speciale Aperta. Hope you found it interesting and entertaining, perhaps funny at times, and I hope you will subscribe, leave comments and likes.